welcome to today's video. Today we're going to do these two tumblers, and then this Friday I'm going to show you how I did a rhinestone cup. Now I didn't get to explain how I did the glitter with these cups. What I did was put on the left cup, the blue cup, I put resin or a layer of resin on it, and then I sprinkled the glitter on top of it. And then on the right I kind of did the same thing, but I just coated it with glitter so that it was chunkier, and that the alcohol inks, when I dripped them, that they would go out sporadically around the glitter and look more like a cow print. And then once they were dry, I would take more resin, mix it up for about 5 minutes, and then just put that layer of resin on top of it. And I was afraid that I would have too many layers of resin on these, but they actually turned out very nicely. Like, I just made sure that the resin or the epoxy was super duper thin. And so as I'm pouring them, I am using my spatula and just going around all the way down to the end of the cup. And what I like to do is when I get to the bottom of the cups, I don't put too much resin on there, because as it's spinning in a circle and it's more vertical than horizontal, I put a very thin coat on it. But you have to also make sure that you get the corners of these cups really well, so you kind of want to spill over on the corners or on the bottoms so that it does spill over and coat the corners very well. But I loved how these cups came out, and I loved how the glitter on the blue cup came out. The glitter is a very chunky blue glitter that I got at Hobby Lobby, and the company is just called Glitter. So, but it worked out very well. The glitter laid very flat. I was surprised. So I didn't have, or no, I did have to sand a few peaks down, and the peaks were from where the glitter kind of like rose up a little bit and wasn't really covered. So I did sand them down, and I didn't polish them or anything. I just added more resin on top of it, and it hid the sanding very well, so you can't even tell that I sanded them. But this is just me working on the right side. As you could tell, there was a little bit of bleeding on the cow print, but I was told that it's totally fine because it's cow print. It's not going to look perfect. So this is me doing the vinyl for the cups, and I just took this very metallic-y blue, and the pink is not metallic, it's just a straight hot pink, and then the black is just a matte black. But I carefully put down the pieces to cut these lines. But these are also the kind of the same colors that I use throughout the cup. But I made very sharp, crisp lines, and these triangles kind of make it a little bit geometric, a little retro-y. I covered it with UV resin because I'm just going to go back over it with regular epoxy resin. But what I've learned with my epoxy resin is it does really well with decals. So I could have just put more epoxy resin, but again, when you're working with vinyl and a lot of layers, you really don't want to make it too thick. You want to go as thin as possible, and the epoxy takes a day, like 24 hours, for it to completely dry. So the UV resin, it allowed me to work very fast and allowed me to just put layers and layers and layers in just minutes instead of days. And then here I am going over a design that I found online that I really liked, but I do make a little bit of changes because sometimes the lines on some of it was a little bit too thick, or there's too many cuts involved. So I always try to make my designs to where like they cut really fast. That way I'm not spending so much time waiting for the machine to cut, and I'm spending more time getting the cups done. And plus, these were also gifts for Christmas. I'm just now posting them because obviously I couldn't post them during Christmas, so now I'm posting them. But I had to hand do the design because I tried, or no, I tried to hand do it because the transfer tape is a little bit too strong for these vinyl pieces. It was, I need some transfer tape that's not so sticky, or I guess I could have made it less sticky by, you know, just sticking it to things until it was not as sticky. Sorry, I feel like I said sticky a bunch. But I did take a bunch of squares, made some decals with them to put with the presents and to also be able to put online. And these are this is permanent vinyl. So the permanent vinyl, you know, they're anybody that gets these presents were able to put it on their car or just put it anywhere that they wanted to stick it to on a laptop or whatever. And this is me going back over with UV resin and just making sure that that vinyl is coated. The UV resin, a lot of people use UV resin because it does help lessen the amount of bubbles that you have around the vinyl. People say if you use epoxy resin that it dries a little bit too slow to where the vinyl stops sticking and it lifts from the cup, but I did not have a problem with that recently. The epoxy resin that I use is from the epoxy store and it's their tumbler resin, and I recently just on a whim just decided to put the epoxy over my vinyl, and my vinyl did not lift or change or do anything. So I think I'm going to start just putting the epoxy over the vinyl, but that's only if there's like one layer. If there's multiple layers, I highly recommend just doing the UV layer method because you want it to dry in seconds and not days. But this is me kind of sanding down any peaks or where the glitter is kind of coming or poking out of from the resin. And again, after this, I added more epoxy on top of it, and it just easily just covered those. But you do have to wipe it off. Like right now, I'm wiping it off with some rubbing alcohol. And then after I do that, I am adding more epoxy on top of these, and you could tell that they're super shiny, super clean, and oh, they just feel so good. I don't know what it is about this epoxy. Oh, and I took the extra epoxy and made these cute little coasters to go with each cup. So I made a pink coaster one and I made a blue coaster one using the same glitter, or it's the same brand glitter, just one's pink and one's blue. But yeah, going back over the sanding, as long as you put rubbing alcohol or take all the excess sanding parts off, or you know, the dust from sanding, as long as you get that dust off, the epoxy will coat back over those areas and looks super nice and clean. I also love how this epoxy feels. It just feels so nice and smooth, and it doesn't feel tacky. It doesn't feel like it's fragile or like it's gonna chip off. And I always put my cups in the top part of the dishwasher and they work out just fine anytime that I wash them. So you don't have to hand wash them. You can put them on top, on the top rack of your dishwasher, and they turn out fine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you Saturday, and have a nice day crafting.